Okay, at this stage, you will need to connect the pieces together. So what you can do is you're going to make up the frame. So first off, if you take off the masking tape for both pieces, and then if you just construct the frame by placing it on the table just to make sure that it's level. So I'm just going to fast forward it to that section. Okay, so you should have two smaller pieces, which should be 7.5 centimeters, and then two that are 10 centimeters. And just position it to make sure it's level and everything's okay. So the longer pieces go on the bottom, and then two shorter pieces go on top of it. Okay, at this stage, just rewind it back a little bit. If you measure the thickness of one of the pieces of wood, so it should be about 18 millimeters wide, and you need to find the halfway marker. Halfway should be 9 millimeters. Okay, so you're just checking that the size of the wood, halfway would be 9. Okay, because what you're going to do is you're going to put a couple of screws in there and there. So what you're going to do is with your ruler, round it a tiny bit. I've just marked 9 millimeters in from one of the longer pieces, the 10 centimeter pieces. 9 millimeters in from the edge and put a dot. And then I'm going to repeat on the other side. So 9 millimeters, put a dot, just under a centimeter, which is half the distance of that. And then repeat on the other side. So just 9 millimeters. Then you set up your tri-square and draw a 90-degree line on that 9 millimeter dot. And don't forget to make sure that the stock is pushed firmly up against the edge of the piece of wood. And you can see two lines then across. And you repeat that same process on the other longer piece, the other 10 centimeter piece. Okay, repeat that. Good. Now, I'm just rewind it a little bit. I've raced on a little bit too far there. Once I'm finished doing that, I'm then going to measure in along from the outside line in 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter in from the edge along the line. So the line's running along the piece of wood, measuring 1 centimeter and put a dot or a little dash. So just 1 centimeter in and put a dash. And this is just the location where the screws are going to go. So 1 centimeter in and 9 millimeters down. 1 centimeter in from that side to do it on both sides of it. So there should be 4 places that you've marked for where you're going to drill your hole, for when put your screws go in, and then repeat exactly the same on the other piece. So you should have it perfectly marked out on both pieces. Okay, fast forward a little bit. Now, at this stage, I'm going to set up, get a scrap piece of wood so I don't drill into the table. I'm going to clamp down my piece of work to the table onto a scrap piece of wood with a quick release clamp to make sure it's nice and firmly in position. And I'm going to use a very small drill bit. I think it's a 3 millimeter drill bit so that when I put my screw into the wood, it's not going to split the wood. Okay, it's like it doesn't countersink it. Creates a gap for the screw to go into. And what I've done now is I'm going to just rewind it a little bit. And a little bit further. Okay, so I want to make sure that I don't drill too far through. Okay, so when I do that, what I do is I line up the drill bit with the thickness of the wood, put my thumb where it needs to be, and then I'm going to put a piece of masking tape around the drill bit so that I know it's gone all the way through, so I can see there that it's going to go all the way through the wood. So I'm going to put a piece of masking tape on, so I know when to stop drilling when I meet the masking tape. Just wrap the masking tape around. That's easier if you have an electric drill, but a hand drill does the job just as well. You hold it firmly, push down, your thumb on the top of the drill, and then you then turn the handle forward motion. Be careful not to twist it when it's in because you'll snap the drill bits. You've got to be very careful at going through, down, straight down, and straight back up again without bending the drill bit, otherwise that will snap. Really careful. Okay, and then now is you're going to use this countersink bit. There's a countersink bit that's like a V shape, and it's going to create like a little space for the screw head to be level with the piece of wood when I put the screw in. So I'm going to then just use the countersink bit, turn the handle, and then it creates like a little groove, like a little V-shaped groove in the hole that I've just drilled, so that when I put my screw in, it'll sit flush or level. And repeat on all the holes just drilled. And repeat on the other one as well. You do it on both of the longer pieces. You do exactly the same thing twice. So you can see I've got 8 holes in total, 4 on this one and 4 on this one, and I've countersinked all of them, ready for then constructing the frame and putting the screws in. Okay. Now at this stage, I need to start constructing the frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of the smaller pieces into an engineer's vise, make sure it's vertical. I'm going to take some PVA wood glue, and I'm going to brush on the end with a brush, just a nice, fairly thin layer, but not too thin. You want to make sure it's enough to connect the pieces together and hold it firmly. I'm going to take some screws. Now, screws need to be obviously longer than the thickness, so they need to be about 25 millimeters long screws. They don't need to be too much longer, between 25 and 30 mil screws, so that goes all the way through the 18 mil piece of wood. And you'll notice that I screwed them in a little way on the table just to make it easy to get it started. And I hold it firmly lined up, and then I put the screws all the way through. And you have to push down with your palm on the top of the screw and twist. So you push and twist at the same time to make sure that it doesn't rise up and it stays pushed down on the piece of wood and be level. So push down with your palm and screw, and then repeat. Make sure it's in, and hopefully you'll find that it should be level because you've countersinked deep enough to make sure it's in the right position. Okay, so just make sure it's nice and tight and level. Don't over tighten it because you will split the wood if you're not careful on this edge. You have to be careful not to over tighten. And repeat on the other side. So with the other smaller piece, brush on the glue, take your screws, line it up. So you have to open up a little bit to do that. Place it back in. You'll notice that this piece is over to one side, so that I can then fit them both into the engineer's vise and make sure it's level on the piece of work. Tighten it up, and then you're going to screw that in exactly the same. Okay, make sure it's perfectly level on this edge and it's not wonky. It should be perfectly vertical. So just check that it is vertical, otherwise your frame will not be square. Okay, and then turn it over, glue on both ends. And then repeat on the other one. So you've just got, if you do one section, make sure one section is perfectly lined up on one side to start with, and then later on when you come to this side, you can pull it out if it needs a little bit of leveling up. This will move slightly still into position. Okay, so make sure that goes down. They're all perfectly in position. Again, remember your palm on the top of the screwdriver and push down when you screw in to make sure it's level. Now at this stage, you'll notice that it's overhanging a little bit, so I'm pushing it in, and I'm going to hold it with my thumb to make sure this is as level as I can get it before I put the screw in. Because once the screw's in, it'll be there permanently and you won't be able to get it out once the glue's dried. So just make sure you push it across and make sure it's level. Like that, all the way in. Okay. When you're finished, if you want to just sand down the edges, sanding board, just to make it level, all the screws will be connecting. Okay, thank you for watching.